Welcome back to Wordy Wednesday, and today we are going to discuss our plans to do sentence diagramming, although we are not doing that today. So, how about we start with the obvious, which is tape. I've seen my physical therapist, and she has taped my face. I keep the tape on for a couple of hours every day. The therapeutic purpose of the tape is to tell my face where it belongs. So it's not just, so the muscles are not just slouching and not responding at all. This is sort of a reminder of where they're supposed to be. The additional benefit is it's so much easier for me to talk when I don't have to talk around my slouching face, and I think that it's a little easier to understand me too. I still do not have any information back on any of the tests, but here's one for you. Watch the eyebrow. Major improvement. A week ago, I couldn't do that at all. So I know it seems like something very, very small, but it means things are improving. So, sigh of relief, because I was beginning to wonder if I was going to be like this for the rest of my life, but it's starting to look like I won't, thank goodness. So, we're going to see how well we do with the tape when we make the video. You let me know. As I said, I think that my speech is easier to understand when, this side of my face is sort of shoved out of the way so I can speak. You let me know what you think. And we will be right back. Okay, before we get into anything else, there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Do you remember? This is Steffi's Beads and Baubles, the llama. Well, here is the llama. I thought the llama had been sold, but it wasn't, but it is now. Here we go. Oh, and note, because I didn't know this, that's a magnetic catch, which is going to make it very easy to put this wherever it is I want to put it. And no, it is not going on my Christmas tree. When I actually saw this in person and realized how beautiful and intricate it is, I decided it has to go somewhere else. I just haven't figured out where yet. So I'm sort of carting it around with me. And frankly, I'm not 100% sure I'm not going to stick a magnet on the back of this and wear it as a brooch, because I am in love with this. It's just amazing. So I hope she ends up making some more of these, because this, well, like I say, it's amazing. This is a fantastic little llama. All right, so enough of that. I had a request to do a diagramming of sentences, which I do think is an important foundational skill in grammar. It's one of those things, if you can pull a sentence apart, the biggest benefit you get from it is in argumentation and debate. And we've all been in this situation. You're talking to somebody, you know they're not making sense. You know their argument is flawed, and you're just having trouble picking it apart. But you know they're putting things together incorrectly and coming up with faulty conclusions. Sentence diagramming can help you deal with that. It can help you pull things apart when you can say, well, no, it's not an adjective referring to the noun. That is an adverb referring to the verb, and it can help you take an argument apart. So, also, it's good to know. But before we can get into diagramming a sentence, we have to do a little bit of foundational work. That is the 8 parts of speech. And I was just thinking, even though I cannot remember which of Jane Austen's novels I came across, I think it's Northanger Abbey, she references the 8 parts of speech. That means the concept has been with us for 200 years because Austen was writing in the early 1800s. So this is an old concept. I'm sure we got it the same way we got all the rest of our weird grammatical rules and conventions, but it's been around for a while. Now, most of us know the beginnings, the nouns and the verbs. So let's just go over all 8 of them, because this is how we break down words and we categorize them. So let's start with nouns. And anybody who's ever seen Schoolhouse Rock can tell you that a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. I still remember, I have that song running through my head. So nouns refer to, well, people, places, things, ideas, nouns, things. And that's pretty straightforward. Nouns can be categorized, by the way, and we can break that down into a great many distinct categories, certain types of nouns. But for our purposes, that is not necessary. And it's something we can do at a later date, but I think we're just going to stick with our goal of 8 parts of speech today. Nouns, we're all pretty clear about that. Verbs. A verb is an action, a state of being, an occurrence. So in most cases, it's very easy to just think of the verb as what is being done, a thought, an action, something that's happened. So we're all pretty good on nouns and verbs. Next, and I'm giving them to you in the order that I like to take them in, because it's easy to remember. After we get through nouns and verbs, which we know, we go over to the adwords, A-D. And those are our adjectives and our adverbs. These are the little mnemonics that help me remember it. So nouns and verbs, and then the ads, adjectives and adverbs. And they modify or describe the nouns and verbs. The adjective modifies the noun. The adverb obviously modifies the verb. So they would be things like colors or alacrity. He ran quickly. It was a blue boat. All of these descriptors are our adjectives and our adverbs. So let's start off with a noun. And I think the noun we will take is, okay. Mildred lives in a house in Pittsburgh. We got 3 nouns there. We've got Mildred, we've got lives in a house, and we've got the where the house is. So Mildred, house, Pittsburgh, 3 nouns. We can use adjectives to modify any of these 3 nouns in our sentence. So little Mildred, so we're going to say she's a small child, little Mildred lives in a blue house in sunny Pittsburgh. All of them. We have 3 nouns, now we have 3 adjectives. We can switch that up. Mildred lives in a house in Pittsburgh, which is cold, dark, and gloomy. All right, 3 adjectives describing Pittsburgh. And we Obviously, we don't have to put them in front of our noun. Now, in English, we do this. We will say the blue ball. In French, we would say the ball bleu. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I've heard people say, well, the noun is the most important thing, so the French are doing it correctly because they're putting the most important thing. No. All languages have their own style. It is what it is. So it's not that French is better than English because they will say the ball blue and we say the blue ball. Not at all. So let's go back to Mildred and her little house. Let's say Mildred ran to her house in Pittsburgh. Now we've got this verb. Instead of Mildred lives in a house, she ran. So let's throw in some adverbs. Mildred ran quickly to her house in Pittsburgh. Mildred slowly ran to her house in Pittsburgh. Mildred slowly and quietly ran to her house in Pittsburgh. See, all these are adverbs, and we can jumble them up any way we want, as long as we are linking them to the verb. And in this case, we have one verb in the sentence, so anywhere we put an adverb, it is modifying that one verb, which was to run. When we get into trouble is when we have like the 3 nouns, Mildred, her house, and Pittsburgh. We must put our adjective together with one of those nouns. So little Mildred lives in a blue house in sunny Pittsburgh. I think that was the original sentence. We can't say Mildred lives in a little blue house unless, of course, that's what we mean. That little has to go back to Mildred. It can't live with house. And that's because our language is order dependent. We depend on word order. The man bit the dog bit the man. 2 totally different sentences, totally different meanings, and the thing that changes is the word order. A lot of languages are not like this. A lot of languages have word forms or word endings that separate the object from the direct object, and you can put it in any order you please and it still means the same. Not our language. We are very order dependent. So that's our nouns and our verbs and a quick overview of how we use the adjectives and adverbs to modify them. Now we've got two more we're going to deal with because, like I said, we're dealing with these in twos, and these are the PRs. Pronouns and prepositions. By the way, as I said, this is how I remember them. Nouns and verbs, ads, pros, and then the J-shuns, which we'll get to later. Okay, pronouns and prepositions, and we're going to start with pronouns. A pronoun is a noun. I'm not sure why pronouns were granted their own special category like this, because all they are is generic nouns. For example, if we use the word him, that describes 50% of the world's population, him. When we use a pronoun, we have to be referring back to a specific noun that the person we're speaking with already has in their head. I saw Jim, and he had his mother with him. If you just said he had his mother with him, you wouldn't know who I was talking about. So even though a pronoun is generic, and it's things like him, her, them, yourself, all of these are pronouns. You have to have a reference point. In other words, you have to have established the noun, or you have no clarity. So that's why I say they are sort of generic nouns. Pronouns are useful and easy, and in fact, we can come up with a specific list of English language pronouns. You could go through it and we'll probably come up. I don't have a list handy for you because I didn't think it was that critical at this point, but I'm sure we would come up with a list and it would be about 20 or 30 words. And that's it. Those are like, pronouns are limited. It's not like nouns where there are literally hundreds of thousands of nouns in our language. No. Pronouns are very different, very specific nouns. Prepositions. Prepositions show relationships. Now, those are words like to and from and with and on. Prepositions. I got on the bus. That's showing my relationship to the bus. I went to the store for some milk, showing my relationship to the milk. Prepositions show how one item relates to another. And again, we've got a fairly limited list of those in English, with to, 4. Goodness, I'd have to sit down and actually think about it, but it's a limited list. But they are relationship words. Through is another one. And that's an old preposition. So the next group is the J-shuns. Conjunctions and interjections. And J-shun doesn't mean anything except that it reminds me that both of these have a J and a T-I-O-N. So conjunctions and interjections. Conjunctions connect. And these are words, in fact, I do have an interesting list of conjunctions for you because somebody put together a great mnemonic. And the mnemonic they put together is fanboys. So, conjunctions, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, fanboys. And there are many others too here, as, because, just as, neither, not only, whether. These are all conjunctions. But that was an interesting list just because we have the mnemonic of fanboys, and I thought that was cute. So conjunctions are our linking words. The Schoolhouse Rock had said, hooking up words and clauses and phrases and making them run right. Those are the lyrics. And finally, we have interjections. Now, interjections are something I find really interesting because they change dramatically over time. When I was writing down, when I wrote down interjection, I was trying to think of some interjections, hey, yo. And I stopped for a moment. I said, would my grandmother have recognized yo? No. My grandmother would have recognized egads, gadzooks. Those would have been her interjections. These change because interjections have a strong tendency to include a lot of slang and very contemporary words. So a lot of words can be used as interjections, even if that's not their actual function. For example, cool. And cool is, in fact, an adjective, the cool marble top. But cool, the way my generation always used it, it was an interjection. Yeah, cool. Just sort of an exclamation. Cool. it meant whatever you wanted it to mean. And that's how we used it in sentences, like yo, that means like hey or whatever. We're using it the same way my grandmother would have used gadzooks. So those are really interesting words, and they change all the time. So, well, actually, is an affirmative, so it's not really an interjection, but yay, yippee, yippee-ki-yay. I could finish that too because I've seen Die Hard, but I'm not going to because we're family friendly. All kinds of things that are interjections. And as I say, they're the fun words because they're modern, they're contemporary, they're slang words. And one generation's interjections don't necessarily resonate with another generation. So that's what we have. Nouns and verbs, adjectives and adverbs that modify the nouns and verbs. Then we have our pronouns and prepositions. And then we have our conjunctions and interjections. So, did I do that right? I don't know. I don't remember. I was counting on my fingers and I came off a finger short. Nouns and verbs, adjectives and adverbs, modifying nouns and verbs. Pronouns, which is our sort of category of generic nouns. These, them, he, him, she, those. Pronouns. Prepositions, with, to, for, through. These are our relationship words. Conjunctions, these are our linking words. And, for, because. And then finally, our interjections. Yo, gadzooks. Relatively simple, but we need to have that down before we can start to tear a sentence apart, because when we diagram a sentence, those are the categories that we are going to pull the words from the sentence and throw them in like little boxes. So if we have a sentence like, Mildred lives in a brew house in Pittsburgh, we're going to want to pull Mildred and house in Pittsburgh out, and those are going to be our nouns. And we're going to want to pull out the adjective. We're going to want to pull out the verb. We need to know which ones are which. So far, that's where we are at. 8 parts of speech, been with us for a long time. I hope the little mnemonics will help you to remember them. I found them very, very useful. And we will start diagramming some simple sentences. And by the way, the reason I say simple sentences is because one of the linguistics courses I had in grad school, we were pulling sentences apart, and we're talking about grad students at this point, the majority of whom, in fact, all but 2 of us, had undergraduate degrees in English. The only non-English majors were me and the engineering student, and I don't know what he was doing there, but he was actually very good at it. We had trouble. I mean, we would be looking at these sentences. It would take us 5 or 10 minutes to diagram some of these complex sentences, pulling things out, and actually playing with the words to see where they were leading. So we're not going to get into that yet, but we are going to get into diagramming some simple sentences now that we have the basics down. So what do we have at this point? We have Lisa's giveaway. If you have not already gone over to Lisa's Instagram or her Etsy shop, her eBay, it's all DesertDragonworks. So go take a look. enter the giveaways, tell her something about your interests, because as you know, in addition to the giveaway prize, she's going to put in some things that will appeal to you based on your interests. And Steffi's Beads and Baubles, Audie is going to be picking out the winner this week. I know I said I was going to try to film that. It's very hard because he's very fast, but I will explain the whole process even if I can't film it. So we are pending the announcement of a winner from Steffi's giveaway. Again, Steffi's piece. And Lisa's giveaway is still going on. If you have not gotten your entry in, please get your entry in this week. You have until Sunday morning. All right, I will see you all on Friday.